This is Rick Rule for Rule Investment Media and the Rule Classroom, sponsors of the 2025 Natural Resources Investment Symposium, July 7 through 11 in Boca Raton, Florida, or from the comfort and convenience of your own home via live stream. A few things you need to know about the conference. The first is that we'll give you 50 hours or more of programming at the conference, more than you can absorb in the 4 days that the conference will be on. To that end, the whole proceedings will be recorded and you'll have access to the recordings, which you will need. But there's going to be so much content there that before the conference, we interview every exhibitor and every speaker so that you can allocate your time and attention at the conference much more efficiently. Finally, every public company exhibitor at the conference is owned in accounts owned and managed by me. At every other investment conference on the planet, the qualification to be an exhibitor is merely a check that cashes. No guarantee because I own a stock that the stock goes up, but it is your guarantee that I personally have vetted every single exhibitor at the conference. And that allows me to make you, the attendee, an extraordinary offer. Anybody who pays to attend my conference, either live or via live stream, has an absolute solid gold money back guarantee. To the extent that you don't think that we've earned your tuition, we will happily refund it. Mercifully, in 30 years of a money back guarantee, we've had to refund less than 0.1% of the tuitions we've charged, but that is my guarantee that this will be a very high quality conference. This interview today is with a new friend of mine, Chad Peters, CEO of Ridgeline Minerals. Note for the record, I am a shareholder of Ridgeline. Chad, introduce yourself. Tell us something about why we might care about your upcoming answers to my nosy questions.
Perfect. Well, thanks for having me, Rick. My name's Chad Peters. I'm president and CEO of Ridgeline Minerals. Founded the company in 2018 out of my garage in Winnemucca, Nevada, actually. Prior to that, I was a geologist for Ewan Downey's kind of syndicate of companies, which included Premier Gold Mines. So I was lucky enough to be a young geologist who got to work my way up through Premier. We made about 12 million ounces of discoveries over a 10-year period. We were able to sell our flagship Greenstone project to Equinox Gold. It's now, I believe, going into commercial production right about now this quarter. And we also made a significant discovery at our McCoy Cove project in Nevada, which turned into i-80 Gold's new kind of one of its flagship assets in its Nevada production portfolio. So really got to see how discovery can really drive shareholder value. Wanted a piece of that ourselves, and so we founded Ridgeline, and we're now a solely Nevada-focused company. We've been public since 2020. I think since you and I last spoke, we're up about 70% on our one-year chart, which is a nice change from the last few years. But we're really focusing on precious and base metal exploration in Nevada, early stage stuff, and we're going after big ideas. And I think that's what's allowed us to ink $60 million US in deals with three majors. So we have two deals with Nevada Gold Mines, which is a joint venture between Barrick and Newmont. We have a third deal with South 32 Limited on our Salina CRD project. So we're able to attract some of the largest companies in the world in the respective commodities that those companies are chasing. And I think you mentioned that you vet every one of the companies that goes to your show. Well, we've been double vetted, right? We've been vetted by you, but we've also been vetted by both of these producers, and they're excited about what we're doing. And I think we're on our way to some major discoveries.
The prospect generator theme has been a great theme for me for 40 years, and it's an important theme at the Rule Classroom. As you rightly point out, first of all, you spend other people's money.
Exactly.
It's a very good thing. It means that you have to dilute yourself less than other exploration companies. But in addition, it means that your projects are vetted not by consultants who charge a fee, but rather by third parties who write a check. I think a wonderful circumstance. Perhaps you could describe the genesis of Ridgeline, how you came to be, and how prospect generation is really truly in the company's DNA.
Yeah, it was kind of a funny start that way, because I actually came from a pure drill and build explorer at Premier and working for you. And so when I spun the company, we actually spun the company out of EMX Royalty Corp. They're still about a 5% holder. Phenomenal group of prospect generator geologists, royalty company that they had some really great assets in Nevada, and it was a bear market and no one was interested. And we were able to pick these projects up put a little, doubled the land position at every single one and did that early stage work, which kind of is what differentiates us a little bit from a classic prospect generator. We consider ourselves more of a hybrid in that we do spend money on our projects. We do advance them. The goal is always to make that 100% owned discovery. But as you well know, exploration can be incredibly time consuming and very expensive. And you have to be able to weather bear and bull markets and still keep advancing. And so we realized, okay, we need to bring in some partners on some of these projects. They're deep, high risk conceptual plays. Bringing in the partners really allowed us to kind of continue accelerating exploration without diluting as much as we normally would have to, as you mentioned, through a really difficult market, which over the last 3-4 years, it was very tough to raise money. Just for example, I think, last year, our partners spent about $5 million Canadian on exploration. We had one project get drilled across the 3 deals. This year, we're seeing 5 projects being drilled and over $15 million being spent in our exploration budget. It's incredible torque on every dollar that we raise as a company.
Well, let's put that in perspective. How much money did you spend on the projects yourself prior to getting 15 million spent by third parties?
Exactly. Yeah. So life of project across all 3 companies, we spent $9 million US to get the projects to those deal levels. Since then, through the life of the first initial phases of each of these deals, you'll see $60 million US being spent by those 3 partners. So that's over 500% leverage on every Ridgeline dollar that went in the ground. You're potentially seeing that coming back through our partners. And the beauty of it is we actually retain 20 to 25% free carried interest all the way to commercial production on every one of these deals. So if a discovery is made, we hold a meaningful, non-dilutive interest in each of these assets, which in itself, it's tough to put a dollar value on that, but that's considerable, right? I mean, you well know that to fund the exploration and advanced development of a project, it'd be hundreds of millions of dollars over, multiple years. We're able to cut the line, if you want to call it that, and go right to the front and have a meaningful stake. There's multiple ways we can monetize those free carried interests, whether through a royalty company or selling to a third party.
And in particular, that $60 million in expenditure doesn't result in one additional share.
Nope, not one. Nope, not one share is issued to do that. And on our Selena deal, we're actually the operators of the project, so we make 10% of every dollar spent. So we just announced a $3.5 million US, so roughly 5.5 million Canadian drilling budget for the year. We're gonna bring in 10% of that just as a management fee. It helps offset G&A, keeps our costs low, and it just keeps the money going in the ground.
So let's briefly, and we need to do it briefly because we don't have much time, go blow by blow through the more significant projects. Tell us something about the exploration programs that you are operating on behalf of your shareholders.
You bet. I'll try to keep it brief here. We have 5 projects being drilled this year, 3 of them partner projects, 2 of them 100% owned by Ridgeline. I'm going to start with our partner deals. Our Swift project is a $30 million US earn-in with Nevada Gold Mines. They've currently spent about $10 million of the initial $20 million that needs to be spent by the end of 2026 of next year. So they have $10 million US that needs to be spent over the next 2 field seasons. They've committed to spending $5 million this year. Previously, they've drilled up to 50 meters of 0.5 gram per ton gold, right on trend of a 20 million ounce gold mine that they themselves own. Then the real kicker, I think, was last year was the first time they hit high grades. We drilled up to a meter of 10.5 grams, meter and a half of 10.5 grams per ton, which was within 3 meters of 7 grams. Now that's, still on the skinny side, but what it shows is for the first time, there's high grade potential on this project. And if we're right, it could be the next gold rush. It could be the next 4 Mile. And Barrick's really excited about what they're doing. So that's going to see $5 million in spending this year. Then we head over to our Black Ridge project. It's another NGM deal. There'll be a maiden drill program there this year. They have a minimum expenditure of $1.5 million by the end of 2025. So they're going to put at least 100 deep drill hole, and it's directly on trend of the Leeville mine. Again, high potential project, zero dilution to Ridgeline. Then you go over to our Selena project. That is the South 32 deal. We just announced a $3.5 million US budget there. We're going to drill at least 3 to 4 holes, testing this deep sulfide anomaly that we caught in our MT geophysics last year. Ridgeline runs the exploration. We'll bring in about 350, 400,000 ourselves. It's going to be just tons of catalysts this year. Then on top of it, we're drilling our 100% owned projects right now. So our Big Blue Porphyry Copper project, we're about 70% through. This is a high-grade past-producing copper mine. We're drilling beneath it, seeing if we can chase that high-grade mineralization. Then we're going to move over to our Atlas project, which I'm really excited we picked that up last year with the run in gold. That is an oxide gold play right off the edge of the Carlin Trend. It's a 3-kilometer long gold trend with rock chips up to 8 grams per ton, and it's never had a drill hole in its history. So previously owned by Newmont, back in the 1990s, they didn't drill it. And I think we're going to, turn some heads with that project this year. So like I said, 5 projects being drilled, and we're only funding about 10% of that $15 million Canadian exploration budget this year. It's pretty great leverage on our shareholder dollars.
Chad, prospect generation has worked really well for me for 40 years, and Nevada has worked really well for me for 40 years. So I have at least 2 reasons to be very excited about your upcoming success. I'd like personally to thank you for your efforts on behalf of Ridgeline shareholders, especially myself, of course.
Yeah.
And I'd like to thank you for your ongoing sponsorship and support of the Natural Resources Investment Symposium. Should our listeners want to learn more about Ridgeline, and they should, who in particular do they contact, and how do they reach that person?
We're still a small team. I'm the guy to talk to. So if you look at our press releases, both my email and personal cell number are listed at the bottom of every press release. It's at cpeters@ridgelineminerals.com. Feel free to reach out. We'll set up a Zoom call. I'll walk you through the projects ahead of hopefully meeting you at the conference. If you're interested in looking into more detail, you can go to ridgelineminerals.com, where you'll find all of our verified deck, all of our financials, news flow, newsletters, the whole thing. So you can really dig into it. There's really there's no secrets in this company. So give me a call. We'd love to walk you through it. See you there.